Let us get seated. The first reading by Natasha Kassan, come forward and read Psalm 46, 1 to 11.
The first reading, a reading from the book of Psalms, chapter 46, verses 1 to 11. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. Though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fail. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on earth. He makes war cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress." This is the word of the Lord.
Our second reading is by Bob Kainamura. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12. Bob Kainamura for our second reading.
If I speak in tongues of men or angels, but do not have love, I am only resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have a gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to the hardship that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For now, in part, and we in prophecy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I always put my childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as a mirror, then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known, appear before judgment seat of Christ, so that each of us may receive what is due. For the things done while the body, whether good or bad.
Now we are going to enter the time of laying wreath. I'd like to ask the one in charge to come and lead us.
Webare mnonga iwero noreba TV West eshaheji ahinkugambira turi muri Kampala aha kanisa ya Uganda mkuru headquarters zahe ziri kushangwa ahari Namirembe Cathedral. Turiyo tuyijuka kandi tushabera amagara hamwe no mwisyo gwa umugurusi mugenzi witu arigire kutugendaho muzeyi Boniface Byanyima abinje ntumanya kishwa wini Byanyima konka aine nabana bandi abari kwika umuri mukaga umubugufu akafa izoba ryo kabiri kandi izoba rya nyumwazyo turebere ari kushabirwa parliament ya Uganda kandi izoba ryambwenu nubwe aryo mu Cathedral Namirembe ari kushabirwa still turukongera kumushabira kandi nabwanyuma umwazi gweri izoba nihija kubaho okongera kushabira amagarage omakageye umuruti mbarra nabwanyuma izo bari nchakare nubwarabe nazikwa akazarwa umwaka gwa 2020 nabwanyuma yija yashomera hari ruharo primary school ubwa hati erukumanywa nka Mbarra Junior kandi yargireyo umwaka gwa 2003 na mushanju nubwo kuzambara high school ahi yashomire O level yargiremo arikuza muri yargiremo arikuza Makerere College ubwa hatera Makerere University ayashumira bushomesa kargamuru kumurwenda anana mushanju ke yargire Makerere yaza Umukono yashomesa ku maremi yake 2 kandi banyuma y'imyaka 2 akaza mu United Kingdom yayongera kuguka umushomesa ukwe no mu Rubaraya yija yagaruka hano nukwe kuzambara high school akashomesayo azira nakore ibintu byinji munonga mpaka mwagwa kumurwenda nkaga nagumwe ndabwaragambara high school ariko gito byo butegeki kwihana zombi byo butegeki akajwekeraho ankore umwishengero yihanga umbona ko bo myaka yankaga akozire myoga mingi no kuba national chairman wa Democratic Party ikibende kikuciza y'obukuru mu Uganda ntuje kubana tukongera ibyafayo bye byingi kuko bwirebera bene ubugendo misho konkani nkumanyisa ngo itwenka TV West ntuje kwereka imikoreje kwere no igendo misho zo bari yambwenu then izo bari yanyincakare okuzika kweye no kwija kuba kuri butunu ninga live aha TV West oyina edidi ya nyakahangura nabindi yo ninkora nabo katugaruko mu kanisa turebe biri kugenda omisho.
We shall have the wreath of Mr. and Mrs. Anthony Byanyima. We shall have the wreath of Ms. Martha Byanyima. shall have the wreath of Mr. and Mrs. Abraham Byanyima. We shall have the wreath of Mr. and Mrs. K. Namura. We shall have the wreath of the Rwakatsinde family. We shall have the wreath laid by the President General of DP, Mr. Noban Mao. We shall have a wreath laid by the representative of the Buganda Kingdom, led by Wekitiibwa Makubya. And we shall have a wreath led by the representative of the government, the Honorable Muruli Mukasa, Minister of Public Service. Thank you so much. And so that will be it for our wreaths, but we'd like to acknowledge having received wreaths from the Right Honourable Speaker, the DP Whip, the Secretary DP, the Lord Mayor, the UPC Whip, the FDC Leader of Opposition, the UPDF Caucus, Honourable Mrs. Nasasira, the Reverend Canon Kamishani, the Buganda Parliament, the West Nile Parliament, the Busoga Parliament, the Minister for Presidency, Captain Mike Mukula, the Zache family, the women representatives in Parliament, the Mujimba family, the Sempala Chigozi family, the Bikako family, the Honorable Francis Mwijuche's family, the Kaijuka family, the Kanyamunyu family, Ambassador Waswa Birigwa, the Katiti family. We shall continue to acknowledge all our wreaths, and we thank you so much again for indulging us and allowing us the opportunity to move this fast. It is not for lack of not understanding that you've taken the time to bless us with the wreaths, but it's because of trying to manage the time. Thank you so much. Give it back to the clergy.
Thank you very much. On page 7, we all stand and sing the song, Standing on the Promises of Christ my King. Get seated. This moment, I'd like to welcome and recognize in a special way a few people. But all of you, you are welcome, as you already said, as we celebrate the life of Byanyima. Let us welcome and recognize our midst, the Right Reverend Wilson Mutebi, the retired Bishop of Mityana, who stands for the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda. You are welcome. We recognize and welcome Reverend Father Dr. Joseph Mere Sebunya, Chancellor, Kampala Diocese, representing Dr. Stephen Kizito Lwanga, Archbishop of Kampala Diocese. We welcome and recognize Reverend Cardinal Magezi, the Provincial Secretary. We can recognize Reverend Canon Moses Banja, staff here at the Cathedral, and Reverend Karungi, First Karungi, the Vicar of the Cathedral, also is with us here. In a special way, and the Minister of Public Service, Honorable Nori Mukasa, is among us. You are welcome, Honorable. DP, President General, Norbert Mao, I have seen, you are welcome. Dr. Kawanga Semogerere is among us here. Owekitiibwa Paul Makubuya is among us here. Owekitiibwa David Mpanga is among us here. Dr. Kizabesije is among us here. Mr. Raro Tunu is with us here. And many others who have recognized you in this service. I'd like to call upon the one master of ceremony as we go to speeches and readings. Come and lead us. He's a good man, he knows how to control time. Continue.
Again, we thank you so much, the clergy of Namirembe. We thank you for blessing us and officiating at this send-off of our beloved father. So we're going to have a few speeches remembering his life and thanking God for having blessed us with such a man as this. Those of us that saw him and knew him, and I'm sure everyone in this room has something about him, we were extremely honored and blessed, and we thank God that he lived the life he did and that he was able to impact so much on all of us. I know that it's hard to recognize everyone here, and I know the Dean has done a great job in recognizing them. I think I also noticed that the Chief of Defense Forces, General Mhoz, is here, and he's recognized and acknowledged as well. So, because of the time, like I had mentioned, and you bear with me please if I keep on repeating it, we do not have that many speeches, and whoever will be speaking, we are hoping they can make sure that they can cover everything in a period of 5 minutes or less. 5 minutes or less would be even better. We have, just before we begin the speeches, we have some words that were sent to us by Saba Sajja the Kabaka, and so I'll very briefly read them. It says, the family of the late Honorable Boniface Byanyima, Ruchimbarara, dear friends, we have learnt with sadness and deep regret the demise of your beloved father and patriarch of the family. We join the family and nation to mourn the passing of an exemplary individual whose career in politics and education spanned many years. We, who have had the privilege to know him, were highly impressed by his kindness and respect for all. His long and illustrious public life was an epitome of leadership based on integrity. He will be greatly missed. May the Almighty give you courage and fortitude to bear this great loss and grant the deceased eternal peace. Signed, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, Kabaka. Could I please ask now the Honorable Muruli Mukasa, the Minister of Public Service, who is also the representative of government, to come and say a few words and open the speeches.
To the family of Mzee Boniface Byanyima, my Lord, the Bishop and the clergy, distinguished mourners, fellow mourners, it was with great sadness that the news of the death of Mzee Byanyima was received, and on behalf of government, I wish to convey our most heartfelt and sincere condolences to the family. Indeed, Uganda has lost a great politician who could not be compromised like most of his colleagues in the early years of Uganda's post-colonial era. He was very principled, because when the alliance collapsed, many of his colleagues switched to the ruling UPC party. By 1971, Mzee Byanyima was among the only 8 people who were left in the Democratic Party. Mzee Byanyima served with distinction. He devoted the prime years of his life to the service of Uganda. His unwavering loyalty and service was exemplary and self-evident. His devotion to national cause and values will remain etched in our minds. We shall always be grateful for the crucial role he played, and we pray that his outstanding service will be a source of inspiration and motivation to most, if not all, Ugandans. We pray the Almighty God comforts the family in this time of grief. May the soul of Mzee Byanyima rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Muruli Mukasa, and we thank and acknowledge the support that the government has provided to the family in this trying time, and we ask that you receive it and extend it to the government. We shall now have the words of Dr. Kayondo, who is the President Emeritus of the Budonian Association. Honorable Byanyima was an old Budonian, and the Budonians felt strongly that indeed they do have to say a few words, and Dr. Kayondo told me there were really few. Thank you.
My lords, the clergy, members of the bereaved family, all protocol observed. I've been introduced already, Dr. Edward Kayondo from the Old Budonians Club. At the Old Budonians Club, it is our duty to track everybody who went to Budo Junior School and King's College Budo, where they came from, the dormitories they lived in, the grades they got, extracurricular activities, where they went after, socioeconomic status, and we inquire about their families. We use this information to network for the good of the school, the kingdom, and the nation. It comes in handy during times of joy and during times of sorrow like this one. He came to Budo in 1942 from Barara Junior School. He lived in Canada House. Our dormitories are named after Commonwealth countries. His classmates were Hannah Lule, a former First Lady, Paulo Sebalu, a lawyer who died a few years ago, William Kalema, a former minister in the Obote One government, Dawood Yochange, a parliamentarian, and others. In Canada House, he was a dormitory mate of St. Zakajubi and Abraham Waligo, though they were a bit younger. His other contemporaries at school was Sir Edward Mutesa, who left the year he came in 1942, and Charles Njonjo. Fast forward, 1940, he was a bright student, and at that time the options were limited. It was either medicine for the science students and teaching for the others. So he was a very bright student, and he went on to Makerere. But before he left in 1944, the headmaster asked the group, 1944, to get a name by which they would be known. This has happened. For example, the Nsibambis were 58, they were the Trojans. Martin Alike, Rhoda Kalema, 47, they are known as the Vanguards. Mosei Gureme, Sente Zakajubi, they are known as the Stalwarts. These ones, 1956 Nagendas, were known as the Jubilantes. The 1944 class chose the name of Donkey. As I was researching, they said they bore the burden of having the strike in 1942, so they called themselves the Donkeys. Now, of the Donkey class, this is the last one. The last but one died 3 weeks ago. He was called Wacha Owol, His Excellency. When you go to Budo, you will invariably want to send your children to Budo. And he challenged one of the girls, Winnie Byanyima, who was with us in 75 and 76, Grace House. What do you get from Budo? The mission statement for the school is to train men and women of integrity who will be brave for the truth. It runs through all generations. You find it in David Rubaruri in Malawi, Emmanuel Ndahiro in Rwanda, Wudo Udoma in Nigeria, Lord Hemingford in England, Charles Njonjo in Kenya. This is the reason, Mayanja Nkanji recently. Again, this is the reason why there are no thieves from Budo, or at least until recently. Lastly, I want to thank the Ankole sub-region for always giving us students who are the students. We had the Mungonyas, Mutashwera, Kahigiriza, Kamuhanda, Ibinjira, Jane Kentembwe, America Foreka, Sam Kutesa. That one is a Muganda from here. Mujimba, and so on. On behalf of the headmaster, teaching and non-teaching staff, and the Budo community, we bring our condolences to the bereaved family. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you, Dr. Kayondo, for those brief remarks. We appreciate the pace that our speakers are moving at with the brevity of their comments. We shall hear now from an old friend of Chairman. He had many names. There are those who called him Chairman. There are those who called him Honorable Byanyima. I called him Uncle Wantu from a story from that I'll tell you about maybe if I get a minute. But now we'll hear from an old friend, Mr. Adoko Nechon, who was a friend from old. Mr. Nechon, if you are here, please come and say a few words. Can the mic be moved? Can be moved? And I'm corrected, it isn't Mr., it is Honorable Adokonichon. My apologies. Very honorable. My apologies.
The leaders of the church, leaders of the government of Uganda, leaders of Buganda, and all fellow mourners, I came here not to praise Honorable Byanyima because I have already praised him in the media, and many have already praised him enough. If I add more praise, it will become a flattery. Byanyima was a presidential material, a brilliant parliamentarian who stood his ground against all odds, as I have said in the press. I say parliamentary material, but he was a presidential material who did not want to be president. He knew his limits and he confined to work within those limits. Today we have people who rush to be president when they should have considered their position before they go to pick the nomination papers. Somebody wakes up in the morning, having not been to a sub-county council, having not been to a district council, and wants to be president directly. But Byanyima knew that although there are privileges in being a president, there must be heavy responsibilities which he did not want to bear. So my advice on behalf of Byanyima is that people should not hurry to occupy positions for which they actually should know they are not qualified. When we held the 1962 elections, Byanyima and I entered Parliament again. And the government then sent two of us to Parliament in England to study parliamentary democracy, so as to be able to help the two parties which were in government, which are in Parliament. I was sent on behalf of the Uganda People's Congress, and Semugere was sent on behalf of the Democratic Party. And while there we learned that the system which we are copying was called how much is government. One side was the government, how much is the government, and one side was how much is opposition. This is what they have in England up to date. But they do not have how much is government on one side and how much is these enemies of state. Both the two form one government, one being one side of the coin, same coin, the other being another side of the coin. And this is what Byanyima and I would like to leave behind when I go next. So I'll confine myself to just bring to you what we believed in with Byanyima. Multi-party government means that we have free and fair regular elections to enable those who have changed their mind during the course of the period of a particular administration to express their mind through a ballot paper, so the government can change smoothly without bloodshed. And this has worked in many countries throughout the Commonwealth, in India, in America, all over the world, except in the community countries and the banana republics. We believe that democracy serves the purpose of producing the best material in parliament through competition. The parties put forward the best candidates through competition during the primary elections and then through the general elections. Because if you sponsor a weak candidate, because they are related to you, because they belong to your religion, they will be defeated in the primary election and they will be defeated in the general election. So you sponsor the best candidate to win the elections. This one service that the multi-party democracy serves. Another thing it serves, it provides an alternative government for the country in waiting. So if the government collapses, another party takes over tomorrow. And the government in waiting gets ready to take over in the next election in case the population change their mind to elect a new government instead of continuing with what they don't want now. There must be somebody ready to take over, properly prepared, not coming by accident and in a hurry, as we try to do here. Now, our friend Gaddafi said that revolutionaries cannot and should not be removed out of power by mere ballot paper. Yes, he must have been right in his own way, but I think ballot paper is better than being removed the way Gaddafi was removed. If God were to bring Gaddafi back today, I think he would run for a ballot paper, having gone out through a sewage pipe. If Gaddafi came today, we will see President Obama swimming in the lake somewhere where he's resting today, or yesterday I saw in the television, freely, without harassment, without any pain. He will see Moi in Kenya, moving freely, having been removed from power by ballot paper. And his children are moving freely. But Gaddafi and his children are no more. Those of them who survive are in pain. And I ask Allah to protect them on behalf of all the Muslims. Our other wish, with that we now turn back, and I put this in Namirembe Cathedral, where I came to pray when I was at King's College, Budo. I heard Byanyima came from Budo, I didn't know, but Wacha, my cousin, whom I buried 2 weeks ago, came through Budo, and I came from Budo with a Bingira in my class, and Prince Barikie was there at Budo at that time, and all the princes and chiefs' children, because Budo was built for the preparation of the future rulers of Uganda. And I was among those people being prepared for that purpose. In 1967, when we were debating the 1967 Constitution, I made one speech, which I advise you to read. It's now almost 50 years. I repeat it today. I told Parliament in the presence of Byanyima that you parliamentarians are giving too much power to the president in this constitution. And somebody shouted, "We trust him." I said, you should never trust a human being with power because a human being changes his mind. You must trust only the Constitution, and you must trust the rule of law. You have a good president today, you give him powers, a lot of powers, but tomorrow you may have a wrong president who will use the same power for a different purpose. They did not follow my advice. Very soon I was arrested with a Bumayanja, this, I don't know, I won't talk about those things now. It's all history. But Byanyima wanted change. He was a very good friend of mine. He wanted change. But when I went to see him in Barara, I told him, you cannot change unless people change their minds. So if you're not prepared to change your mind, then you don't expect to have a change. Because other people will also not change their mind. He said, no, you left the Democratic Party, you changed your mind. Me, I'm not changing my mind. I said, okay, then if you change your mind, other people will also not change their mind. Then there will be no change. That was where I differed with my friend Byanyima. And he has died, holding his own view that he cannot change his mind, but he wanted change. And I have heard people saying on television that Nekion, Professor Mukwai, I think, said Nekion goes with the wind. He changed from one party to another. Yes. Multi-party democracy provides for change of mind and a platform for people who are dissatisfied with their own party to move to another party and let the country move smoothly. Supposing those powerful people, those brilliant people who are in a party keep on fighting and they have nowhere to go, where would they go? They'll go to the bush. I would rather prefer that they move to another party and express themselves there and work to get to power instead of going to the bush with a gun and bring bloodshed to the country. This is my view, and I think Byanyima is hearing me where he is. We sincerely believe that we now go back to the system which we adopted at the independence. Parliamentary system of government, not the presidential government. The presidential system we have tried, parliamentary system we have tried, and both have not worked well. But ultimately, I think we go back to the parliamentary system where power is vested in the hands of the cabinet as a whole, not in the hands of one individual. Because when the power is vested in the cabinet of many people, the parliament can control the prime minister, whom they can remove by a vote of no confidence. Simple vote of confidence can remove the prime minister. But you cannot prosecute or even impeach an African president. You try it, you regret. You cannot remove an African president by impeachment, which we provided in the Constitution of 1995. I participated in the making of all these constitutions, 62, 66, 67, 95, I've participated in them. And I can tell you that my view is now that we go back to the parliamentary system because we can control the prime minister and we can remove him easily when we don't want him. That's why I now recommend that to the country. When I conclude by saying, I say that because when an allegation was made against Dr. Bote, the Prime Minister, myself, Onama, and Amin, in Parliament, and Parliament voted that the Commission of Inquiry should be appointed to inquire whether we had actually brought gold to Uganda and sold against the Constitution. Yes, we agreed, and we appointed the Commission of Inquiry, which was held inside Parliament. 92 people gave evidence. Only one person called Kabanoka gave evidence against me that I told him the money Amin had in his account came from Algeria. Nobody else talked against me. So Dr. Bote was cleared, I was cleared, Onama was cleared. Amin was found to have brought gold and sold it with Indians somewhere in Italy. But the report was published in Kenya because Amin was in power, so it could not be published here. The judges from East Africa, Kenya, and Tanzania who composed the commission decided to run to Kenya to publish the report from there. But it was published. But other commissions nowadays, their reports are never published. That's the difference. So I pray you that we go back. And Byanyima's, I conclude by saying, I'm sorry for the death of my good friend, the most sincere friend I've had, Byanyima. I thank you for looking after my daughter, Irene, while she was at school in Maryhill. You did everything on my behalf. although I paid the school fees, but I could not go there. My wife could not come because, like Byanyima, she got a stroke and had lost her memory. I cannot say more. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nichon. So we'll be asking Honorable Mao to come and say a few words, very few words, and then introduce Honorable Kawanga Semwogerere. And as he's coming, as Honorable Mao is coming, we have received a message of condolence from Obwakabaka bwa Buganda, which for now we're not able to read, but it is signed by Charles Peter Maiga, the Katikiro. We have received a message from the Oxfam office in Kampala. We have received a message of condolence from the Forum for Women in Democracy NGO, and we also recognize Dr. Chiwanu Kamayamba, the National Chairman of DP, Dr. Gerard Sirinda, Secretary General of DP. We recognize General Kale Kehura, Inspector General of Police, General David Muhozi, Chief of Defense Forces, the Mayor of Rubaga Division, Mrs. Joyce Sebugwao, Honorable James Sakena, Ambassador Virigwa, and Honorable J.B. Kakoza. We'll continue to recognize you as time allows us, but please, Honorable Mao, come and say a few words. And we still the clock is moving quite fast. We are asking, please, to keep this as short as you can.
The family of Boniface Byanyima, the former national chairman of the Democratic Party and elder statesman, the clergy, fellow mourners. This is a solemn occasion, but it's also a joyous occasion. That's why we are calling it a celebration of a life well led. I read somewhere that great men are the common property of the country. I've not come here to claim Boniface Byanyima for the Democratic Party. I've only come to acknowledge that he belongs to all of us. Boniface Byanyima was defined by his various relationships to God. He believed in the indivisibility of Christianity, and that is why his command to his family was that his service, as he begins his final journey, should be ecumenical. Even his family was an embodiment of ecumenism. In his relationship with his family, he was a man full of love. In his party, I can say he was the most consistent. In a world of politics where politicians are consistently inconsistent, he didn't see being in a political party as a meal ticket, unlike today. He did not crisscross because he preferred principle to power. He loved this country and put it first. Above all, he loved humanity. It's a pity that he has gone before seeing Uganda see what it has never seen before, change without bloodshed. That is one gift we could not give to him. Words fail me in describing what sort of man we are saying farewell to today. Let me borrow the words which were used to describe another great man, George Washington. I've added a few of my own, but these are just words. Pious, just, humane, temperate, and sincere. Uniform, dignified, and commanding. His example was as edifying as were the effects of his example lasting. To his equals, he was condescending, to his inferiors, kind. And to the dear objects of his affections, like his family, he was exemplarily tender. Correct throughout, vice shuddered in his presence, and virtue always felt his fostering hand. The purity of his private character gave effulgence to his public virtues. Ankole gave him to the Democratic Party because he became too big for Ankole. The Democratic Party handed him back to Uganda because he became too big for the Democratic Party. Uganda handed him over to the universe and the world. He has now become too big for the world, so he's gone. I pray that the Lord may receive him in glory and reward him for his selfless service of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mao. We're coming close to the end. I will ask Dr. Semogere to come and say a few words, and then we'll have the remarks of the family. And while Dr. Semogere is coming, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Prince David Wasaja and Mrs. Welcome.
My Lord Bishop and representative of the Archbishop of Kampala, the family and dear mourners, we must thank the Church of Uganda for bringing us all here to mourn the death of